An object, catalogued as 3I/ATLAS, entered the solar system on a deep space trajectory. No threat, no drama, just a chunk of cosmic debris, moving fast and cold, pulled in by nothing more than Newton's laws and gravity's silent grip. NASA tracked it. So did ESA. A few curious amateurs tuned in with backyard scopes. Routine science. The kind that usually fades into data logs and quiet reports. Then it reached Mars. What followed was not routine. If you're still watching, subscribe now. You crave more than answers. You seek what lies beyond. Subscribe now and be part of the few who never stop searching. Within hours of closest approach, 29 million kilometers, Mars lit up. Auroras flared over the planet's poles, not Earth-like, not slow and beautiful. Violent, pulsing, coordinated, as if responding to something unseen. Martian methane levels, normally static and controversial, spiked, hard, not a gradual rise. A sudden punch, synced precisely with the object's pass, and then came the signal. A rhythmic pulse, not natural, not chaotic, patterned, steady, repeating. Multiple spacecraft caught it. Orbital platforms, even ground-based antennas tuned to Mars' ionosphere. Same frequency, same beat. Experts called it plasma interference. Others didn't buy it, because what came next made that theory obsolete. The comet, if that's what it still was, began to shed. Not in the way dirty ice balls crack near the sun. No violent breakup. No dust cloud. It peeled. Spirals. Perfect arcs of material separating and drifting away in geometrically consistent patterns. Some fragments began rotating, slowing, as if guided. By then its brightness had tripled. Ground telescopes, amateur and professional alike, reported an unexplained glow surrounding the object. Not solar reflection, internal luminescence, a pulse that matched the radio beat. And still, Mars kept reacting. Thin as its atmosphere is, the chemistry changed. Trace gases, rare ones, carbon monoxide, cyanogen, detected in odd concentrations, as if they'd been injected or released. Scientists argued. Some pushed natural outgassing, solar heating, electromagnetic disturbances, standard responses to an unusual object. But off the record, others said what no one wanted to admit. This wasn't natural behavior. There were whispers, now quiet ones, about intelligence. Not sentience necessarily, but engineering, design, a mechanism beneath the comet's crust, a core too stable for chaotic mass, a structure holding form under acceleration. 3I/ATLAS isn't the first interstellar object we've seen, but it's the first that answered, and the answer wasn't silence. The deeper mystery now, was this deliberate? Or are we watching something ancient malfunctioning, broadcasting into the void? A probe long forgotten by its makers, or worse, still reporting home. The next few weeks will tell us more, or they won't. Because what passed Mars may not be a visitor at all. It may be a messenger. At 3:02 a.m. UTC, October 3, 2025, a visitor from the deep interstellar dark swept past Mars, uninvited, unexpected, and entirely unlike anything we've ever seen. Its name is 3I/ATLAS, the third confirmed interstellar object to pass through our solar system. But this time it didn't just fly by unnoticed. This time it left a mark, and what followed stunned even the most hardened astrophysicists at NASA. For the first time in recorded history, an interstellar body passed within 29 million kilometers of Mars, close enough to trigger phenomena no model could predict. What began as a routine observation rapidly escalated into a global scramble as systems lit up across multiple agencies. Not just because of proximity, but because the object did something no one expected. It changed. First came the glow. Astronomers monitoring the pass-through caught the initial brightening, then the rate doubled, then it intensified further. By the time it reached peak luminosity, its brightness had increased more than 500%, not gradual, not steady. Sharp, controlled, coordinated. Like someone flipped a switch. Next came the outgassing. Rare gases, colbus, cyanogen, spewed from its surface in surging pulses. These weren't your typical sublimations. The emissions were organized in intervals, timed, not chaotic, like most comets. Structured, as if regulated by an internal system. And then came the auroras. Mars's upper atmosphere flared to life with the electromagnetic activity. Red, green, and violet ribbons arced across the Martian sky. The cause wasn't solar wind. The orientation was wrong. The timing was off. The only nearby influence. 3I/ATLAS, NASA's MAVEN spacecraft registered the magnetic spike first, then ESA's Mars Express confirmed. Local plasma density surged. It was the most intense non-solar atmospheric reaction ever recorded on the planet, and it happened just as the object hit closest approach. That's when the methane hit. A spike. Sharp. Unmistakable, detected in the Martian atmosphere within a 10-minute window of the flyby. Not the slow seasonal seepages previously debated for years. This was different, concentrated, isolated, and precisely synchronized with the object's trajectory over the northern hemisphere. Methane on Mars is controversial. It's either geological or biological. Either explanation is significant. But sudden spikes like this one, unprecedented, and impossible to ignore. Simultaneously, across multiple spacecraft, a signal was detected. Rhythmic. Pulsing. Not radio noise. Not background interference, a structured waveform. Repeating with mechanical precision. Detected by orbiters around Mars and deep space observatories trailing the event. Plasma interaction. Possibly. A natural feedback loop. Maybe. But the signal's consistency, frequency modulation and duration defied expectations. It didn't behave like anything naturally emitted. It behaved like a message. The fragments came next. As the object began shedding material, standard for a comet, the behavior of the fragments broke protocol. They didn't scatter. They spiraled. Slowly. Deliberately. In concentric patterns, as though under rotational control. Not random debris. Not chaotic dispersion. Spiral trajectories. Coordinated paths. The sort of behavior that prompts urgent meetings in conference rooms behind closed doors, and amateur astronomers saw it too. From backyard setups to high-powered telescopes, citizen scientists around the world documented the object's bizarre glow. Not just brightness, but color shifts. A deepening blue hue at the comet's edges, a flicker along the nucleus, then the pulse visible even to optical observers. Not one burst, but a repeating pattern, identical to the electromagnetic signature recorded by professional equipment. By midnight, speculation had ignited. Some called it engineered. Others dismissed it as overinterpretation. But among the internal conversations within NASA, JPL and ESA, one possibility could no longer be ruled out, that 3I/ATLAS was not entirely natural. No official statement confirmed this. Not publicly. But insiders spoke of unusual language in internal briefs. Of project tags being quietly upgraded to anomalous asset monitoring. Of security clearances adjusted on comet data. Of astrophysicists suddenly joining previously unstaffed deep space tracking teams. Even the naming conventions changed. What began as a comet quickly transitioned to interstellar object then unknown body in some documents. The language tightened. Caution replaced curiosity. The leading theories splintered. One camp held the line, natural outgassing, magnetic interactions, solar heating. Rare, but explainable. The other camp, quieter, less willing to go on record, asked the unthinkable. What if 3I/ATLAS isn't just passing through? What if it's observing? What if it was built? The object's approach vector supported no known origin. It didn't follow the path of previous interstellar comets. Its trajectory was clean. No gravitational perturbations, as if it entered the solar system on a precise course. A mission. Not a drift. Could it be a probe? A remnant? A beacon? The spiral debris patterns hint at rotational stabilization. The pulsed gas emissions suggest internal pressure regulation. The rhythmic electromagnetic bursts, repeating every 127 seconds, point to systemized operation. These are not random events. These are signatures. Skeptics point to outgassing dynamics, that some comets break apart in orderly ways. That plasma interactions can create auroras. That methane can leak from subsurface reservoirs. All true, all reasonable. But all together, all in one synchronized sequence. Rare becomes implausible. Implausible becomes suspicious. The next phase is critical. As 3I/ATLAS moves toward perihelion, its closest point to the sun, its behavior will shift. It may fragment, it may survive, or it may evolve. If it was built, if it was designed, this is when we'll know. Already, the James Webb Space Telescope has been retasked to monitor. Ground-based arrays in Chile and Hawaii are locked on, and a flotilla of amateur astronomers is contributing coordinated optical data, feeding into real-time models. It's a global effort. A scientific mobilization, not seen since the first detection of Oumuamua. And behind it all, a quiet growing possibility that this isn't a rock, that this is contact. There is no confirmed evidence of artificial origin. There are only anomalies, signals, patterns. But history has shown breakthroughs begin with anomalies, and this one is different. This one feels deliberate, because this isn't how comets behave. This isn't how debris drifts. This isn't how methane moves, or how signals pulse. This isn't the silence of space. This is a disruption, a disturbance, a message, maybe, or a test. One that we're only beginning to comprehend. Some scientists argue we're projecting intelligence onto random processes, that we're desperate to find meaning in noise, that it's all coincidence. But when the coincidences pile this high, they start to look like architecture. 3I/ATLAS isn't finished yet. It will pass closer to the sun in the coming weeks. Its behavior could stabilize or become more extreme. If it fragments, we may see internal structure. If it maintains shape, we may detect more emissions. If the signal intensifies, then the debate ends. This could redefine our understanding of interstellar travel, of observation, of intent. Because interstellar objects aren't just rocks anymore. They may be communicators, explorers, scanners, and we may not be alone in the analysis. The universe has always seemed indifferent. But what if it's been watching? What if we've never noticed the patterns, because we never looked closely enough? What if the signs have always been subtle, until now? The encounter with 3I/ATLAS marks a threshold, a transition from passive observation to active speculation, from astronomy to something deeper, something existential. We've stared into the dark for centuries. This time something stared back, and whatever happens next, humanity is already changed. The way we see the stars, the way we listen, the way we wonder, that's the legacy of 3I/ATLAS. Its journey isn't over, and neither is ours. If you want to stay updated on 3I/ATLAS and the cutting-edge discoveries reshaping our understanding of the cosmos, subscribe now. This is no longer just science. This is the frontier of contact. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and never stop watching the sky. The next 12 days would stretch the limits of what Earth's science could comprehend. Because 3I/ATLAS wasn't fading. It wasn't breaking down like comets are supposed to when they graze the inner solar system. It was holding course, holding structure, and the signal. It didn't weaken with distance. It amplified. Spacecraft positioned across multiple observation points began recording signal harmonics, not noise, not background interference, patterns, echoes of the same pulse detected during the Mars flyby, modulated now, sharper, as though something on board had noticed it was being watched and was now responding. In low Earth orbit, satellites caught the frequency leak. It wasn't just Mars. The signal had a trailing component, beaming outward, slicing through the solar wind, unbent by gravitational influence. Directional, intentional. Some systems flagged it as interference. Others logged it as priority data. But in deep space telemetry rooms, far from press briefings and public statements, the truth was quietly discussed. We weren't just hearing it. It was aiming at us. At Earth. Back on Mars, the methane signature remained unstable. Follow-up scans found the gas had localized along a narrow band of latitude, then dissipated entirely within 72 hours. Too fast for any known geological process. Too specific for a subsurface leak. It left no residuals. It left no chemical trails. It came. It vanished. Just like 3I/AT, and yet, the object wasn't gone. As it approached its solar encounter, telescopes registered no increase in tail formation, no thermal breakup. The nucleus stayed intact. The brightening stabilized, then pulsed again. 3 times, then a pause, then 3 times again. Always in sets of 3. And then it got stranger. The spiral fragments once thought to be debris did not disperse. They continued orbiting the main body in predictable intervals, not tumbling chaotically, but maintaining orientation, as if part of a system, as if tethered by something unseen. One observatory in Australia captured a time-lapse. Over 9 hours, the spiral structure rotated, but never collapsed, never drifted apart. The pattern held. You don't get that from shattered rock. You get that from design. Across research centers, debate fractured into hard lines. One side demanded caution. Physics can explain this, we just don't have the full picture yet. Anomalies don't equal intelligence. The other side didn't speak publicly. But they were meeting every day behind secured doors, under project designations that didn't exist 2 weeks ago. At Langley, at Goddard, at Arecibo's legacy centers, even though the dish was gone. The data told one story, but the silence told another, because now there were patterns in the signal, frequency shifts corresponding to solar alignment, bursts timed to Earth's rotation. The pulses were adjusting, responding, as if the object wasn't just broadcasting, as if it was listening. This wasn't theoretical anymore, not for those tracking it. And then on the 12th day after the Mars flyby, the comet slowed down. You heard that right. Its velocity relative to solar gravity decreased, not due to drag, not from solar pressure. It corrected. It reduced speed by 0.02% over a 6-hour window. That doesn't happen in nature. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens with navigation. Orbital mechanics doesn't lie. The data was verified, cross-referenced, and finally reluctantly confirmed. 3I/ATLS had changed trajectory. Slightly. Precisely. And now it was heading toward the ecliptic plane, closer to Earth's orbital path. Not an impact course. Not a threat. But a shift. Toward visibility. Toward alignment. Toward contact. Speculation exploded across classified channels. Some proposed it was a gravity assist maneuver. Others called it a rendezvous vector. One report quietly floated the phrase orbital insertion test, then retracted it 24 hours later. Still, no agency made a public announcement. No press conference. No warning. Because how do you say it? How do you go in front of cameras and tell the world a comet just adjusted course? You don't. You wait. You study. You hope. Meanwhile, amateur arrays confirmed it. The object had altered speed and position. The pattern was repeatable, observable, public. So now the public started asking questions. Reddit threads filled with charts. Twitter timelines dissected the orbital elements. Live streams tracked the signal's frequency in real time. And then came the spike. At precisely 1814 UTC, 12 days after the flyby, the signal's frequency jumped. It broadcast for 27 seconds in full harmonic range, cycling through 19 bands of known radio frequencies. Each burst matched a known terrestrial communication standard. Military bands. Aviation. Marine. Satellite telemetry. Then silence. That's not coincidence. That's a handshake. Not a greeting. Not a conversation, but a demonstration. I see you. I understand your networks. I'm here, and for the first time people stopped laughing. This wasn't a comet anymore. Not to the scientists. Not to the governments. Not to the ones watching the data scroll in real time on black background terminals. This was something else. A messenger. A probe. A device built by minds unknown, launched from a system we've never mapped, using technology we don't understand, cruising through space, for reasons we can't guess, stopping at Mars just long enough to show us that the universe is watching, that we are being watched, and maybe we always have been. The object continues toward the sun. Perihelion will arrive in weeks. What happens then is anyone's guess. It may slingshot out of the system. It may power down, or it may deploy something we aren't ready to see. Whatever it is, it's quiet now. No more pulses. No new fragments, just steady trajectory, controlled, monitored, and the tension builds by the hour. Observatories from Japan to Arizona are locked onto it. Governments have reallocated telescope time. Military satellites have adjusted pointing vectors. And new tracking initiatives have gone dark, moved under jurisdiction not governed by civilian space agencies. That's when you know the game has changed. Not because they tell you, but because they stop telling you. 3I/ATLAS isn't just a rock passing through the solar system, it's a moment. A line in history. Before 3I/ATLAS, interstellar objects were mysteries. Now they're messages. We don't know where it came from. We don't know how long it's been traveling. But we know this: the universe is not silent. It is not empty. And it is no longer ignoring us. 3I/ATLAS saw a planet with radio towers. With heat signatures. With chemical engines pushing satellites into orbit, and it blinked. It flared once at Mars, once at Earth. And now it's waiting. Waiting for us to answer. Maybe we never will. Maybe we shouldn't. But now we know. And once you know, there is no going back. If this object turns out to be natural, if every signal and spiral and pulse is just a strange accident of physics, we'll still remember it as the moment the door cracked open. The first time nature mimicked intent so closely that we couldn't tell the difference. And if it's not natural, then history just changed. SETI becomes history. Astronomy becomes diplomacy. Every observatory becomes a watchtower. Every mission becomes surveillance. And Earth becomes a participant, not a bystander. Because 3I/ATLAS may be the first, but it won't be the last. Others will come. Some already have. And maybe this one is just a probe. Just a sensor. Just a scout. If so, the real arrival hasn't even begun. But we're listening now. Watching. Recording. And waiting. So what happens next? That answer doesn't belong to NASA, or the White House, or the UN. It belongs to time. To the stars. To whatever else may be out there observing our little blue planet from afar, waiting for us to notice. 3I/ATLAS passed close to Mars, and the universe hasn't been the same since. Stay tuned. Because the next chapter may already be en route. Subscribe now to follow the ongoing story of 3I/ATLAS, the signal that changed everything, and what humanity does next.